Hi, everybody. It's Selena Rifkin here. Jason will be joining us presently. He's on his way home. I'm here with Court Ratnowski, who was one of the original members of the Tea Party in Connecticut. And so we're looking forward to having a nice chat with him.
Hmm.
And this is Pixel.
All
So
right.
he's my
How'd you
assistant.
Pixel?
Pixel, yes.
Pixel.
Pixel, Pixel. Yeah, it's from Robert Heinlein, who had a cat named Pixel. The book was called The Cat Who Walks Through Walls. And
Oh.
I was a big Heinlein fan. So
Oh.
yeah, and he's quite I train cats. I literally train cats. I know that sounds very strange. I've actually written a book about it. This one,
Can't
not
be
really.
trained.
He's
All
not
right.
really
So
trained.
it's a lifelong challenge.
Yeah, well, he will run on a wheel. I have a cat wheel, I have an exercise wheel. He taught himself to run on the wheel. I did not
Right.
teach him, but yeah, he'll sit and he'll sit up and he'll go up on things and to come down off of things, and that's about as far as we get. So
Right. Well, as far as trading goes, they say that cats are curious, and I think we can agree with that. I'll tell a quick cat curiosity story.
please.
So, that cat, Nala, when she was a lot younger, one time on the counter, I had a glass of water and a spoon in it.
Hmm.
So you could see how the spoon was refracted.
Hmm.
It got her attention. And yes, and she went over there and she's looking at this and going, oh, this doesn't make any sense. And then with her paw, she's kind of feeling it and exploring it, trying to make sense out of it. Then she just moved on to the next thing. But I thought, since when do cats stop and look at things like that? Right?
Yeah, you never know if they're super smart or just super distractible.
Distractible.
Yeah, he's smart. He'll open doors,
Oh,
like
you've seen that.
sliding
Oh,
doors. Yeah,
okay.
oh yeah, if
I,
they're
I
he's
saw this.
very good at that.
I saw this other cat actually turn the handle on a door and
Oh
open it.
yeah, if we had those kind of handles, that their doors would never be closed in this house, but we don't
Yeah,
because we're that
there you
smart.
go. Right. So I mean, cats have a peculiar kind of intelligence that I don't think we really understand. That's
They are both predators and prey, and so they have both characteristics, and it makes them you never know which side is going to get turned on next. Well, I
mhm,
mean, you can if you know the cat, but
yeah.
he's he he hunts, but
Mm,
he's extremely alert and
right. I mean,
ready to go running, whereas my fluffy one is completely confident and he thinks he's human. So,
well, I guess that's why cats continue to survive.
yeah, indeed.
Right. The
So,
thing,
why don't you tell me a little bit about your history with Tea Party early on?
okay.
Like, with
Right.
some basic stuff, so we have
So
some idea of who
sure.
you.
Well, all right. I'll just try to round this out as best I can. Now, first of all, of course, the concept of Tea Party harkens back to the Boston Tea Party back in the just before the Revolutionary War. Well, a little bit longer, but yes. So that theme has endured over the years, fighting against oppressive authority. That was sort of the message of the Tea Party. And then a gentleman named Ron Paul, you may recall,
Hmm.
made a similar attempt. Oh, God, not sure exactly when, but he tried to revive the same spirit and start his own Tea Party movement, but it didn't really take. But I think it was shortly after that. There was a gentleman named Santelli, Mike Santelli. I'm trying to remember his first name. He was famous for being on an investment TV show called CNBC.
Hmm.
And he was always the guy that they would go to who would talk about the bond market. And so he was based in Chicago, and he'd go out to the pits and he'd talk to the traders. So you're getting a real flavor of real dynamic capitalist activity. Well, we may remember there was a point shortly after when Obama was elected that they started to put forth a form of aid, if you will, for people whose mortgages were underwater. Now, these would have been the same people that were not supposed to have these mortgages in the first place because they were not, um, they didn't have the right kind of credit to handle the payment of a mortgage.
Right.
Right. So a lot of people were very upset with that. So this is early February of 2009. Yes. So he's standing there being interviewed, really angry, and he says, "Let's have a tea party." 2 weeks later, in 150 cities roughly around the country, on February 27th, 2009, it happened. Okay. You name it, there were people who were out there and they were pissed. Okay. And so the whole concept of the Tea Party movement appealed to them very strongly. Now, as a footnote to this, I would like to add that in the January before the February, there was another little issue that was burning, and that had to do with the concept of states' rights, because Obama was pushing greater centralized federal authority.
Shock.
Shock, yes. Well, so in meantime, so the way that a number of people started to push back against this, and I think the Oklahoma legislature did something with respect to the 10th Amendment, reaffirmed it or something. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, so that was sort of a precedent, I guess, that sort of stirred the pot a little bit, and that you began to see this states' rights issue sort of get woven into what was thought of as the Tea Party movement at the time. Well, in any event, so there I was, Hartford, on that day, about 150, 120 people or so standing out there making noise, just like it was going on around the rest of the country. And there was this, yeah, relatively speaking, there was an explosion of interest that blossomed into numerous Tea Party groups around the state. And, one in Hartford, one in Stanford, one in Greenwich, one in New Haven, one in New London, on and on. And, but over time, they kind of faded away. The ones that I would say have persisted in various degrees are the group that I'm with in Stanford,
Mhm.
and another group that's up in the northeast corner called, well, they call it the Quiet Corner.
Mhm.
Now, our group tended to be more activists. We would get out, we would demonstrate, make noise, be annoying. And there were a number of Tea Partiers who would go in the quote other direction where they were content with just educating themselves on you name it.
Mhm.
And for us, our numbers, we started out with about 40 some, but then it kind of shrank down to 10 some.
Mhm.
Meantime, the group up in Northeast Connecticut, near Brooklyn, Connecticut, stayed at around several hundred members. And there were supposedly some others, but there was never any real coordination. Everybody's just off in their own corner doing their own thing.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, nationally, you had, I mean, I wouldn't say the Connecticut Tea Party movement was quite so strong, but you had people who were involved and they were showing up in various ways. And I would say another moment in the history of the Connecticut Tea Party was when a gentleman named Joe Visconti decided to run for governor in 2014. That really did serious damage to the Tea Party because Joe Visconti, even though he was one of the sort of self-appointed leaders in some fashion, really didn't know what he was doing and proceeded to stumble all over himself. I mean, the backstory is that he had gotten a nomination. He was there at the convention and he had a certain number of delegates, but then the process by which delegates are selected basically screwed him out of having enough delegates to be on the ballot. So instead, he had to petition to get onto the ballot. Well, he had enough of a strong following where he was able to do that. So mind you, you had at the time, I think it was Foley, and I want to say McKinney, the son of Stuart McKinney. And so they were vying with each other, um, And so there's going to be a primary in August. In the meantime, this third guy comes along. He's sort of the spoiler, and that was Joe Visconti. However, he made enough rookie errors to screw everything up.
A
And
few of those, just so we know what those are.
I'm sorry?
List those rookie errors, if you would, please.
Sure. Okay, the first rookie error was the way he tried to create political alliances. This was a joke. All right. So he was trying to, cut a deal with McKinney because Foley was the nominee, and uh, that wasn't working. So he had trying to remember how he did this. Okay, the order in which these happened is still a little foggy in my mind, but there was a point at which he was no longer a Republican candidate. He became an independent candidate.
Okay.
This made no sense.
Okay.
You just went to the Republican convention.
Hmm.
Okay, got Republican, you just petitioned to be on the Republican ballot. Now you're no longer a Republican. What are you doing? Okay. Then a smaller example was that at that time, there was the big debate over unaccompanied minors coming across the southern border. And it was, shall we say, contentious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
And so there I was with other people, out there complaining, we fighting the Board of Education who was accepting too many of these kids, et cetera. And there was so here's the thing that it gets really screwy. So it's mid-August. There was a debate, or early August. So there's a debate between McKinney and Foley. All right. Well, Joe Visconti felt he should be in there too. And I said, no. Okay. But who were his supporters? Over here.
Mhm.
And at the time, these supporters were the same people who were bitching and moaning about the unaccompanied minors coming across the border. All of a sudden, Joe got cold feet about literally standing outside in front of the debate place with the very people who were his supporters. Okay? It doesn't get much more stupid than that. I mean, how quickly he became a gutless politician.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All
Okay.
right. And then the showstopper, the one that really put the whole thing away, was as the election was approaching, he tries to cut this other deal where he was going to throw whatever support he had to, I'm going to say, McKinney. It's,
I'm not sure how you throw supported someone. Is that like an
yeah,
endorsement or
this is just a political version of high drama. And
okay.
in his case, it was pathetic and it was lame. So, Joe, it was nice that you ran, but don't ever do this again. Okay. And I can tell you that some people poured their heart into this campaign. And for him to screw up like this, every step he took
Ugh.
just ruined it for them, ruined it. Okay. And I can tell you there was lots of recrimination going around
Mm.
after that election. And for all intents and purposes, the Tea Party as an entity
Mhm.
in the state of Connecticut was really no longer functioning. You had your separate groups, that was it. But otherwise, any notion that because I have to say, at the same time, there were enough people in different RTCs around the state who clearly had the goal of taking over RTCs.
Mhm.
And I can say that they made some progress. I would say the high water mark was about 15% of the RTCs were effectively under some form of Tea Party control. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, at least the executive leadership, there were people you could point to and say, these are Tea Party people, and that looks pretty good, and we can keep going. And in fact, a number of people did get elected to the legislature who were also Tea Party types. Some remain,
Mhm.
and what they did was they started a caucus that they called the Lighthouse Caucus, and they had a little pin that they wore
Mhm.
to represent that shh, we're part of the Tea Party, but it's the Lighthouse Caucus. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
we have a working families party in
Yes.
Connecticut. We know what
Right.
those are. So,
Yes. Okay. So the problem here, though, with these people, God bless them, is they did not understand the strength of character that is really needed if you're going to stand up for principles in a political environment. They did not understand it. And you just saw them fold one after the other
hmm.
until you had a hard core that remains. And that's what we have to this day, that hard core. But man, here you look at this and you say, great, we're making progress, blah, 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 blah. This is where if you've been catching it from how I've been bitching, okay, about grassroots organizing and understanding what you're doing and being an effective political organization, there's a whole education that you need to go through and understand in terms of yourself and what you believe in first, and then how you're going to carry that out next in your dealings with those around you politically. And it should be done with the understanding that there are people who don't agree with you. And so you're going to have to make decisions about the degree of disagreement you're going to tolerate. And so there you go. Meantime, the other thing I've complained about is that our group, the Tea Party people, tended to be more conservative, not so moderate.
Hmm.
All right. And yes, it is true to this day. You've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. What do conservatives have trouble with? I'm waiting.
Come on, tell me, Kurt.
Trust issues.
Oh.
Oh, it's a serious problem.
Hmm.
And let me give you a sense of how serious it is. Um, if you just stepping back a little bit, if you look at what we'll call the Mideastern culture, okay, Arabs, the different countries that they make up,
Hmm.
they don't get along with each other. They hate each other's guts.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Your great, 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 great grandfather screwed my mother back in 1717. We're never going to forget that. Really? I think you're having a problem with forgiveness, which is kind of related to trust. That defines the Mideastern culture, I'm afraid. Okay? In the West, as part of being a Christian, you learn to forgive.
Mm.
Okay? Forgiveness is a cornerstone of Western culture.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? And with it, trust, that you trust each other.
Hmm.
Okay? I trust that I'm walking down the street and some guy isn't going to come up from behind me and hit me on the head. I expect to just be able to walk down that street unmolested, if you will. Okay, fine. Conservatives, on the other hand, they don't trust anybody. And that trust is expressed in the form of constant doubt, suspicion,
Hmm.
accusations, and feeling, oh, look at you now.
I'm here. We're
Much
back.
better. Okay.
And he's
Home,
got a cat.
home, home with my cat.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
My little boogie woogie back here.
Yeah, he looks comfortable. That's
Yeah, she's doing great.
right.
It's Bella.
Okay.
Hi, Boogie Go.
All right. So I was just explaining to Selena in a roundabout way the extent to which conservatives have trust issues.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Jason?
Some conservatives have trust issues. I would agree with that.
Well, I would say a lot of them do. I would say a lot, enough, a lot
What
of
do you think's
conservatives.
behind that? Is it a personality trait inbred with conservatives, or has to do with the way the party's been run?
I'll give you two examples. The Greenwich Republican Town Committee for years and years has been run by rhinos. There was an occasion where the conservatives finally rebelled and took over. Any idea how long they lasted?
Hmm.
One term,
1 month. One
Wow.
not
month.
even that.
The mutual recriminations that started to flow like water
Huh.
was enough to kill it. And the rhinos just said, you guys can't handle it. You're out. as they took over. They took back and they kept running it. And now there
That's
was another
really.
occasion where the conservatives took over. There's a different set of circumstances.
Mhm.
I think this last conservative group from a couple of years ago was much more, quote, enlightened. But still, there's a certain team spirit that you have to be aware of, and it's got to be a part of your human nature.
You think
Right.
that this is,
And you have to be forgiving of each other. If somebody says something you find offensive, or they say something and you think they're attacking you, let it go.
yeah,
Right.
Let it go, please.
Right.
I
Okay,
think that, it's, and I'm going to draw a parallel here with libertarians.
sure.
Because God's help us, I was libertarian for about 10 years. I stuck my nose into a couple of libertarian chat rooms, and they just seem to take the greatest pleasure in just sniping at each other, like all the time. There wasn't any, and this is kind of the nature of libertarianism, is it's just like the party of the porcupine, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
How well do you think people who just want to be left alone get along with other human beings?
Not well,
Not too
not well.
well.
I think there's a strain of that in conservatism.
Yeah. So are we swimming upstream in something like this? I mean, if we're trying to bring back conservatism into the Republican Party and our psychoanalysis is not promising.
Well, look, a conservatism is based on the individual spirit. It's freedom and the yearning to succeed
Yeah,
and
but we got to work
Yes.
together.
individual based. But
Yes.
but where we're missing the point is, like, Democrats will force you into submission. They'll force you into
Right.
unity. Whereas here, we still want unity. We just want voluntary unity.
You know,
Yeah.
We want you to want to be part of the team. We're not going to draft you into the team.
Maybe we
We just
need
want you to be
better
part of it.
arguments, or maybe we need professional
right?
psychologists in every RTC.
Okay. Well,
Different things motivate. Isn't it true though that different things motivate different people? Some people are going to be motivated by the prospects of Marxism's a
yeah,
threat. And other people
well,
are going to be motivated by their own personal gain. Other people are going to be motivated by
yeah,
economics. I mean,
yeah. All right. I mean,
social issues.
Jason is bringing up a lot of points that each one of them need unpacking. But let me just finish off the second point I wanted to make and get on to this other thing I wanted to bring up. It was a rally about this housing, the zoning control issues. It was in Ridgefield. And I think I told you this story, Jason. So I'm standing there, and this woman comes over, and there's an old Tea Party friend, Kathy, and hadn't seen her in a long time. It's great to see you. How you doing? Boy, great day, blah, blah, blah. For the next 5 minutes, all she could do was talk about all the people who treated her wrong and stabbed her in the back. Okay, you've been politically involved, and politics is about working together. And you're telling me the opposite. Okay.
Right.
Eh, all right. Now, freeze frame. As if on cue, Kathy steps out of the picture and standing in the same spot as another person. Her name is Tony Boucher. Does anybody know Tony Boucher?
No.
She will blow your mind. I can guarantee it. She was a state senator for, I want to say, Wilton, Reading, and Ridgefield. I think that's right.
Okay.
This woman was so skilled, we'll call the gift of gab, as a politician. Oh my goodness. All right. So, a quick side story. I saw her in front of an audience, the worst kind of audience you could possibly be in front of, which is middle-aged, white, liberal women. Okay. And they were ready to eat her alive on abortion. Oh my goodness. And by the time she was done with them, they were eating out of her hand.
Wow.
Yes, wow. Yes, wow.
Okay.
So,
Master class.
It's a gab. It's a beautiful thing.
yes, it is. And so, you may not like it when you think that some politicians speak with forked tongue,
Mhm.
but some are better at it than others.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so she was. Now, and Tony was more the rhino than the conservative. And so, in the time that I had with Tony there, what could she not stop talking about? We need to reach out and work together.
Okay.
That's all she could talk about. Okay. Tony, wait. This other woman, she was just here. All she can talk about people stabbing her in the back, and you're talking about people working together. I see a difference here. I see a big difference. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you know, and I know that we ain't getting nowhere unless we can work together. You
Right.
know? Okay. Even though we might be diehard conservatives. Sorry. Although, I don't know, Selena, do you think you're a conservative?
Um,
Fiscally for
I
sure.
can, I have to say, I will tell you that in my travels, I have met many people who would be considered conservative and strain what might be the stereotypical definition of a conservative. How many conservatives do you know who practice Reiki?
Practice, what's that?
Reiki.
Reiki.
It's energy work.
Oh,
It's energy work.
Right.
I will say I've been on a long journey, and who was it that said I think it was Reagan said that if you're young and conservative, then you're cold-hearted, and if you're
That was actually Winston Churchill.
okay, thank you.
Yes, at the age of 20,
you don't consider you're cold hearted if you're old liberal.
if you don't care, you don't have a heart. But if
Right. Thank you.
by 40 you don't understand, you don't have a brain. So
Right.
Right. That's a good point.
yes,
I could have
okay,
just aged into it.
sure.
Could
Yeah,
just be
okay,
who I'm hanging around with. I like to think of myself as well-rounded.
I,
sure. That'd be a
I,
fair statement.
I think I'm conservative. There's no doubt that I'm fiscally conservative, economically
Yeah.
staunch conservative,
All right, you're
100%.
sounding dangerous already,
But
Jason.
however, when it comes economically speaking, because the numbers don't lie, Court, they don't lie.
Which numbers are those?
The numbers that dictate where the money goes and what happens,
Oh,
and the percentages of
I'm waiting for
tendencies,
you
the
to say,
demographics.
okay,
The numbers are the numbers.
I'm waiting for you to say you're socially liberal.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Yes.
Socially, I'm center. I'm not. I wouldn't call it liberal. I think I'm in the center. I'm willing to look at things on a case by case basis. Like I'm
Yeah.
certainly not in favor of any of this hardcore left wing woke crap going on. So if you want, so these
Okay,
days, if you
but
say you're on the left socially, that puts you in a pretty bad category, I think.
if I mean, if this
Should be a matter
unfortunately
of
may not,
degree.
all right, this may not be the place, but there's some effort. We would have to do our homework and then compare notes. But my appeal is to understand the quote history of liberalism
Mm.
and the history of, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry, God, forgive me. Socialism.
Which is just a kind word for communism.
That
They're
yes.
different. They're different, but it's just a way of saying it. Socialism allows for some
Maybe I
free
should say
business.
progressives. Okay, I want to go back to 1900. Okay, and what was it? It was there was a name of a
What about the adage? I think a lot of people feel like conservatives stay out of my bedroom and liberals stay out of my wallet. A lot of people feel that way.
That's a cheap slogan, and it doesn't work.
But I
Okay,
think it doesn't work. It doesn't apply to everything. But I think a lot of people generally feel that way, though.
all
In
right.
other words, government, get off my back, no matter what side you're on.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that if there's anything that draws us together, it's this. Yes. Okay, but at some point, I'm sorry, you have to get into the weeds. You have to get into the weeds
Sure.
of what are the legitimate functions of government? When has government stepped over the line? What do you do about it? What's overregulation?
You know what a good document to refer to for that is? It's called
What?
the United States Constitution.
A good start. That's what I would say.
Good place
Okay.
to start. Yeah.
All right, but all right, I want to just finish off that other point. I'm trying to remember where you brought up something that made me think.
Got you off track. Sorry about that.
We gotta.
Yeah, you were comparing socialism with.
Yeah, there's that, but there was something
We're
before.
talking about conservatives and
Yeah,
what
but
constitutes.
the point I wanted to make is that which constitutes liberalism has undergone its own evolution. I think that's a point that's been made.
Sure.
But we should really understand that evolution in some detail. Okay. See, there was liberalism before communism showed up on the scene. All right. And you had people who were what we'll call reform minded because they saw at the time many social ills. Child labor being the obvious one. Okay. And there are many others. Worker safety was another big one. A lot of people dying needlessly in different factories and such. Okay.
Alcohol abuse.
So, okay, well, no,
Yeah.
the temperance movement, that didn't work out very well, but
Hey, that was
the
the mindset.
but yes, but so these are the strains and suffrage, and there are other things and slavery. Okay, so we can go through all these things, and these made up the threads, if you will, of what was liberalism back then. Now, as these get woven together, and we move through World War II in the 50s, okay, now communism starts to become an issue, and they're changing the whole look and feel of what we recognize as liberalism. Okay, and then after the 60s, now we've entered into this new phase, which seems to be culminating now. Okay, in what is really just rank communism. And yeah,
Doesn't it come down to really the big picture? Again, it's who's going to control the natural resources and the wealth of the world? Is it going to be left open for people to compete and families to compete for, which is essentially the American way, the capitalist way? Or is it going to be controlled by some sort of an entity like a state and redistributed supposedly fairly? And that is socialism, communism,
well,
monarchy, all the things
well,
that we have from the past.
you
That,
know,
that is in contrary to what the United States experiment is.
I'm going to use a phrase, forgive me, resource management. Okay.
Right.
So, was actually, we won't get into that, but was Teddy Roosevelt a communist?
I would hope not. I don't think so, but he probably did a couple things that seem might make you think he was. I bet. I bet you have one ready to tell us
I,
right now.
I would have one to throw in, but he is also famous for starting the national parks.
Yeah.
What were the national parks? They were government creations.
Yeah.
Okay. And part of it was that you had these beautiful areas where these parks are set. Before these parks were formed, you had a lot of commercial development, shall I say, defacing these beautiful places. And so you had people who are saying, no, no, you can't do it here. You got to find another place. You can't have this kind of activity ruining this natural beauty. All right.
Sure.
And it was Teddy Roosevelt who is credited, with having done those things that were concerned with preserving these areas, which would have otherwise become amusement parks
Sure.
in some fashion.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
Promote
now,
the general welfare, right?
sorry, what?
Promote the general welfare.
Yes. Okay. So this gets back to the what are the legitimate functions of government question. Okay. But these were examples of where you would have said, too much government interference. Those communists, what are they doing? But we end up with this notion of the common good being protected in some fashion.
Correct.
All
And you
right.
can make the
So,
same
where do
argument
you
for
draw the
eminent
line?
domain.
I'm sorry.
And you can make the same argument for eminent domain.
Which argument is that?
That you can just take public land and do
Take
things.
private land for public good.
Well, okay. The does who here remembers Kilo versus New London?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
So the
And-
distinction being taking private property for the public good generally versus taking private property to turn over to another private entity
right.
to make money off of, which is what they were trying to do in New London. Am I right?
Okay. So the kind of eminent domain that I would kind of go, yeah, is what you kind of got to do is when we built the highway system, right?
Right.
To
Yeah.
link these highways through communities that had to be
Bridge,
moved and destroyed and not good. But if we're going to have your highway system, it's kind of what you have to do. All right.
railroads.
All right. So that would be quote for the public good. But then Kilo, a whole other story. And I think they never even built there anyway.
Nope.
No, I think they won out on that.
Nope. They never did anything with it.
Right. So, okay. So which eminent domain are we talking about?
Well, you were talking about Teddy Roosevelt, so proceed forward.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm not going to talk about eminent domain, but I'm going to introduce an arcane word. Are we ready for this arcane word?
Can't wait.
Lay it on us.
Departicipation. Has anybody ever heard of departicipation?
No.
Does that mean throwing up your hands and saying, screw it, I'm taking my ball and going home?
In a way, okay. I'm gonna try it this way. I'm gonna set it up first of all this way. The concept of departicipation was admired by two people. One was Vladimir Lenin, and the other was Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay.
Okay, so what is departicipation? I'm glad I asked the question. The idea is that you need to develop mechanisms, statutory mechanisms, legal mechanisms, administrative mechanisms to make it harder and harder for you to have your grievances addressed by the government.
Hmm.
Make it harder to access the courts, make it harder to get information, okay? Create rules that discourage you. Tell you, there's this thing called the common law grand jury. Ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. There's a whole discussion around that, and yeah, it's interesting. Um, the basic idea of a common law grand jury is that it's protected or covered in the Fifth Amendment, and the idea is that you would have it's the concept of a grand jury. The grand jury that we know and love today is that there's somebody accused of a crime. You go to the courthouse, and the judge will decide if to put the prosecutor in charge of this or to appoint a grand jury that will hear evidence and then decide whether or not to proceed with the trial. All right. Before that, before that, what you had was a group of citizens who would get together and they said, we see that person over there, they've been doing some bad things and we think they've broken the law and we want them prosecuted. All right, so they would get together, they would compile their evidence and make what was called a presentment, like an affidavit, to the judge saying, you, judge, have to do something about this because here's the evidence that that person's been doing bad things. Okay, so in other words, this act of the law was precipitated by citizens.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we have today.
Nope.
Okay. You can have an allegation, somebody gets arrested. Okay. Then you're wrapped up in the law enforcement system. And then, there could be a grand jury and then decide if there's a trial. The role of the citizens in being a watchdog, as far as these things are concerned,
Gone.
Technically it's not gone.
It's been dissipated, though.
It's been dissipated. There is a group, I think it's called the National Jury Association. I've worked with people on this. There's a whole there. I don't know if I want to get into that. We'll see. Well, maybe I should, since we're taking the time. Um, um, so the idea of a common law grand jury is supposed to be that, all right, it answers this question. Who's going to watch the watchdogs? Okay, when the Constitution was being written, there was a question of who's going to be the authority, if you will. And the idea was that, well, I mean, the framers knew that government officials could become corrupted.
Sure.
So who's going to keep those corruptible officials honest? And the answer was quite obvious. The citizens. They would be the ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the concept of the common law grand jury was supposed to, quote, complete the circle of integrity for government. But it was broken. And so today we have tons and tons and tons of corruption because the role of the citizen in ensuring integrity in the government has been broken.
Departicipated.
Yes. Right.
Now,
So,
why was Teddy Roosevelt a big fan of that?
well, as he liked to say, bully, bully. He was always excited about getting out and doing things, and I think he felt that certain people could, well, interfere with him. And so the less they can interfere, the better. Hence departicipation. Right. So, and remember that he was the leading expositor with what was recognized as liberal, being a liberal Republican or a progressive Republican.
Rhino.
Better known, that's right. Better known as
Rhino.
Okay. So he was a person who would get out there and do things. The rhinos we know today, not so much. Okay. And in fact, if it's about Connecticut, I did put up for one broadcast the image Ben Proto, junior partner to the Communist Party, because he is always trying to make nice with the Democrats.
Yes, he is. That's
He
why
wants,
we don't. He's disingenuous.
yes, he wants to be at the table. This is what drives the rhinos. They want some power.
Yeah.
And so they're willing to compromise in all the worst ways.
Or like they say, kiss the ring of the other side.
Yeah, and then hopefully the Democrats would throw them a few scraps and say, "Yeah, you can introduce this legislation. Yeah, we'll help you out with it, but nothing serious, nothing important."
No,
So yeah, so that's
about personal gain. Why?
well, yeah,
They're standing in society.
not about personal gain. It's just I don't want to sound like I'm sympathetic to them. I'm not. I would probably hang them, but the
Yeah.
the the sense is that if you're doing something, you don't want to feel like you're wasting your time,
Hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
want to feel like you're accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And so you're stuck with having to face the fact that there are these other people, not in your party, who are in control. And they get to accomplish things and you do not.
So they think they consider the scraps they're fed as something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're okay with that because at least there's some feeling.
Like a good dog.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we know, there are certain people though who don't really cotton to that much at all.
Yeah. This political atmosphere in America is not humans versus dogs. It's two different groups of humans with different ideals. So it's time to get off the scrap table. And how are we going to do it, Cora?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I want the answers.
Oh,
Well, we start with the RTCs, right? That's what we're starting with.
oh, this is back to the point I was making earlier with Selena, how labor intensive this all is.
Yes, that's why we need help.
As a person, a wise person, who happens to be a Democrat, had said, do what you can do. That's it. You have to look at your limits and all the other things that we have to do in our lives. And within that framework, do what you can do. All right.
Yeah, but it's also about have good managers to help delegate different tasks to different people that are willing to do what they can do, so that you don't have 6 people doing one thing and then something else isn't getting done.
So let me address that. Okay. You said good managers. Do you know how hard good managers are to find?
Yeah, they are very hard to find.
Oh, what?
The Red Sox could use one right now.
Yeah. Okay. But Selena, why did you? I guess you were agreeing, thinking of something. I don't know.
No, I was agreeing. I mean, that's certainly if you start looking at, and I haven't actually spent a lot of time looking at it, but I never made a business of being, employed by somebody else.
Mhm.
Largely so I didn't have to deal with bad managers.
Yes.
I've dealt
Because
with
I have
plenty.
no patience with that sort of thing, largely because I'm very self-motivated. I've had some great managers, I have.
Mhm.
But a lot of them were just like
Okay.
not very good. And
Yeah. Well, yeah.
in fact, I will use doctors as an example because I know because I'm in a healing field. I know a lot of people who have worked for a lot of doctors and doctors who can actually manage office staff in a way that makes them feel motivated and happy to be there.
There you go.
Not very
Really?
many.
Really? What's their
Oh,
problem?
not many at all. Oh yeah, it's
Just
talk
lacking
to some
in,
nurses sometime
let's
about
see,
how the doctors treat them. Dear gods.
let me think here. This is just lacking in the common graces, or
Well, there's some of that. There's a fair bit of, well,
Probably the
there's
condescending thing.
condescending thing. I've done all of the work to get to X, Y, and Z, and so you just need to listen to what I have to say, and you don't deserve any. I mean,
oh, I mean, there, yes.
ideally,
I know that.
a manager has some social skills, but
Well, we're doing a good management thing right now with the profiles that are being put together by a good volunteer right now, and for the districts and the towns that we're doing. And once we get those online and up and running, and we get leaders of the different movements logins to the network and everything. And we're going to really start to do some really good management here for the Republican Party in Connecticut. So I'm
Well,
pretty
all right.
excited about that.
You're talking about data management.
Yes, that's the core. That's one of the core things.
Well,
And that leads to the field man. That will lead to on the ground management, though. It'll give us the basis. The database gives us the spinal column for which to do everything else, or to keep track of what we're doing, so we know what we're doing.
All right, you see my head bobbing around. Yeah, I want to agree, but I kind of don't agree. Because I just think all right, I want to go back to management per se. All right. Um, so Selena started out by talking about her personal experiences with managers and then used doctors as an example. My approach is, well, it's philosophical but experiential at the same time. And you know what? If I say manager, I check. Where's the mirror? Where's the mirror? I got to find the mirror. Okay. We all have to be good managers.
Yeah.
So that said, in the context of business management, okay, there's a whole world out there, let me tell you. And the person I want to name is Peter Drucker. Anybody know?
Heard of
Name's familiar.
Yes. So Peter Drucker would be considered the father of, quote, management. And his heyday would have been, I would say, from the late 50s until the early 2000s. He lived well into his 90s. Now, Peter Drucker was a part of what was called the Austrian School of Economics, which was not really a school per se. But there's the expectation that people who represent that are deeply grounded in history, philosophy, economics, politics, you name it. And he certainly was qualified in that regard. He had that kind of broad, all-embracing perspective with direct experience, having consulted as a management consultant, not only for major corporations, but for national governments. So, for example, as the story goes, shortly after World War II, he was asked to go to Japan and talk to the newly formed government there about what they're going to do going into the future. And he is, Peter Drucker was famous for asking the question, what business are you in? And very quickly, people learned that if you say you're in the car business, wrong answer. Okay. If you're in the safety business, the transportation business, there's some other way of looking at it. And he always drew his clients to this broader, different way of looking at what they were doing. And it was very informative when it came down to, okay, what are we going to do with our products? Who are our customers, and how are we going to work with them? So he was seminal in terms of that, bringing about that kind of change. There's a short book he wrote called The Effective Executive, which I have lying around somewhere. And on page 6 of that book, there is a very simple comment, simple, true to life observation. Whatever your job, you have to go beyond your job description. You will always be in a situation where some other person is dropping the ball. You see something they don't see, okay? And it's not in your job description. Forget it. Take care of it. Take care of it. That's part of being a, quote, good manager, okay? So here now you've started on the journey of beginning to understand what is a good manager. And if we're going to talk about good managers and good management in the context of politics in the Republican Party, boy, oh boy, is there a whole hell of a lot of going beyond your job description. So that said, I just feel this need that if a lot of other people just don't get it.
Right. Well, there is a lack of good management help out there, that's for sure.
Okay, so it's like, fine. You know, I go through this all the time. I'm always sort of confabulating in my head the next curriculum that should be given to people who are going to get involved in politics and do it in a serious way. And understanding management is one. Understanding psychology is another. Understanding marketing and communications is yet another.
Adaptability.
And I'm sorry?
Adaptability.
Yeah, well, as a personal trait, yes. So there's a whole series of things where you need to orient your own thinking if you're going to be doing this. And sadly, we see time and again, at least within the Republican Party, no, no, there are more people who don't get it than do. And it just gets expressed in all kinds of ways that just leaves us with nothing. My having said all these things, so now I'm wondering, what are we going to find? So let me pick one.
How do we filter out to get a big enough group of people that are good, skilled, unbiased managers into a core group that will thus facilitate the rest of it?
All right. I think in terms of forming a school, but that school has to be composed of instructors who know their stuff. And I would, my instructors, they're going to be Joe Markley. They're going to be, sorry, I'm drawing a blank on her first name. Dauphiné, Marie Montefrancesco, Rob Sampson, Dub Dubitsky. These are sort of obvious ones. They're more from a legislative point of view, but there's still this thing called common sense. I'd probably bring in Fred Camillo as the first selectman in Greenwich. If anybody knows politics, he does. Oh my goodness. So it's and to just stick him up in front of a group of people and just go through the process. But I mean, before all that, yeah, I'm saying, all right, at least me initially, but we sit here based upon our experience, deciding, okay, here are the things that you need to learn if you're going to go out there and you're going to be effective as a political operative. What is that going to look like for you? And you have to understand disappointment. You have to understand inconsistency. You have to understand that people are not going to perform in the way that you expect. And you have to be able to, you need to have the tools in order to know how to deal with it every time something comes up. So I'd start with that list.
More explicit instruction, or find somebody else, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever it may be.
There was a version of this, the Charter Oak Leadership Program. Anybody?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think you talked to me about that.
Yes.
Okay. Glastonbury? Was it in Glastonbury?
Well, I don't know where it was exactly, but the genesis of that, okay, there is Yankee Institute. Mm-hmm. Yes, any Yankee Institute fans out there?
Yeah, yep. I've heard of the Yankee Institute when I was young, but yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Carol Platt-LeBeau has done a fabulous job of leading that organization. And she got the bright idea, I'll say 10 years ago, of wanting to build in Connecticut a leadership program for Republicans or conservatives, I should say. And so she looked around the country, and the best of breed was this group in Colorado called the Rocky Mountain Leadership Program. Mm-hmm. And so she came up with a deal. And they brought the program to Connecticut, modified it a little bit, and then set about the business of recruiting people to become students in this class. And the idea was that you took these classes for 9 months. You were grounded in all the great literature concerning conservative values, and it was basically what you call a liberty curriculum. Okay, the idea of liberty.
Have a good night, Dad.
All right, you too, Michael.
I'll be ready by 8 tomorrow.
That's right. Good. Okay. Yes, we got to get up early morning. Just knocking off my train of thought here. Liberty curriculum was the heart of it. You would go every so often to these conferences, and you would meet people like Thomas Sowell and other big names in the conservative community who would then give their lectures. Talk about a rich education. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
There's just one problem. They kept losing money. Okay. I mean, it was overdone. They couldn't bring it under financial control.
Why do you think they were losing money? Just because of too much spending?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop and say, wait a second, we got to think financially about this.
You got to need more minimalist people like me running places like that.
Oh, great.
I mean, less is more, man.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's true. There's a lot of truth to that. Less is more.
You gotta
look at Little House on the Prairie. How they taught those kids so well with chalkboard and a couple of books. They didn't need all that fancy. You don't need a lot of money to educate kids well. For example.
Uh, so you
know,
haven't taken a chemistry course, have you?
middle school, yeah.
Okay.
I was
So,
13.
But do we actually need a lab in order to do something like
How
this?
about the correlation between money and success is not coherent. It's not, it goes to a certain level. You
right.
got to spend money to a certain level to get to what you want. And then then you don't need any more after that. And that's true in business. That's true in education. It's true in most things.
I mean, what it comes down to is you have to be able to assign a real cost to everything that's done, and then decide what your limits are as far as those costs are concerned. They just
Stay
did.
inside
And
of
then
it.
honor those limits.
Right.
It's easy
So,
to decide what you can limit to. And then when it comes to push comes to shove and you're in the trenches,
mhm.
they go
Yeah,
over their budgets.
right. So I was so excited about this leadership program because the way I saw it, using a military analogy, is that the way the military is constructed, you have your enlisted, you have the non-commissioned officers, and you have the officers. The non-commissioned officers are the backbone of the military. These are the career guys who know their jobs inside and out. Okay, and this leadership program was producing what would be the non-commissioned officers for the Republican Party in Connecticut. It's too bad it fell apart. Now, there are some who are supposedly trying to put it together. Haven't heard anything yet. Okay. But I would say that such a leadership program is still absolutely vital if you're going to rebuild the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, just like that's the middle layer of organization in the military, it ends up being that middle layer that I was talking about for the overall plan for the Connecticut GOP. And what that means then is also that this leadership program is what plugs into all the RTCs. Okay. They were graduating, I think around 50 students a year.
Hmm.
So that after 10 years would be 500 people roughly.
Yeah.
And I remind you that if you add up the membership or supposed membership for all the RTCs in Connecticut, it's about 3,500. So 500 is moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I would presume that these people would be trained in what it means to recruit people and to keep them motivated and to have them remain a part of what you're doing.
Right. So you graduate 50, that could mean 75 or 100 true
Okay.
people. But,
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
could see something like that happen. I mean, you can do online classrooms. It can be done very inexpensively.
Mhm.
And it's like, yes, you want to be able to do some face-to-face stuff, obviously, but you don't have to do all of it face-to-face. I imagine this was done bricks and mortar. And
Um, well, to the extent that there was a classroom where they
right,
met,
yeah,
right?
that's not necessary anymore
Well, there's
sometimes. And
I
Or
think
I
it's
will argue with you about that because I am
great.
finishing up my thesis at a distance school.
Okay, well, your
That's,
thesis is not a political organization.
no, it is not, but it
I
is a
think a
school.
combination of the two. I think you're both right. I think a combination of the two. I think you can do a lot of your stuff online, but I think there should
Yeah,
be
that's what I
like a
mean. You could cut
monthly
costs
in-person
by
type of
doing a
thing.
lot of it
Because
online.
part of politics is in-person contact too. It's
Part,
part
Absolutely.
of context in general. So
I'd
I
say
think you're both
Doesn't
right.
all have to be.
uh,
I think you don't
And
have to have
consider
a building where
Connecticut.
someone's got to show up every single week,
Yeah,
but you got to have both.
yeah,
personal contact is the heart and the soul.
it is.
And the fact of the matter is that I mentioned leadership, and I'll say it, I mean management and leadership. And leadership is the difference between success and failure. That's just a fact.
Yeah, it is.
And to finding good leaders as well as good managers is
Nice.
difficult. Difficult. So what you would hope for is, I mean, ideally, there would be that one person who really knows how to draw people around him or herself, and then has a group of lieutenants who are, quote, equally competent,
Yeah.
who then are able to carry out the other tasks that are required for the organization to succeed. I don't know why, but I keep going back to the early days of the American Revolution.
Yeah.
you had very few people who really had what it took. What, Colonel Knox, a bookstore owner?
Yeah.
You
That's
kidding?
us. That's us. That's our little group here. We got a lot going for us. We just need more of us. That's what we're doing here. But we
All
just need we need more of us. We need another handful of us.
Okay, well, yeah, I would. There are others. I mean, I point more to people like Joe Markley as representing what is needed in terms of political capabilities. The the other part here, I mean, just to throw it out there, is money. I've been through. It's been 15 years of just watching people stumble and beg for a few bucks just to be able to keep going.
Yeah.
And then the few times where people do get a lot of money, they screw it up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So,
Well, if this was something, money is a big thing. Like for I myself, I've been doing a lot of work on this thing since November, and I could do a lot more if there was something going on where there was money, because obviously I have to go make a living. So, like the last week, I haven't done too much because I've been making money, trying to make money and make a living. So,
I
you know,
want to make an important digression on that point. Um, how many PIs are there in Connecticut?
there's hundreds of them. How many competent ones are there, though? There's probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay. Well, that's good enough. We'll take them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have
I
you
can
ever
think of 2
thought?
off the top of my head.
Okay, have you ever thought of forming your own little group of PIs?
Like a PY network.
Yeah.
We have an informal one.
Okay.
There's two friends I have that are also PIs that are really great.
Hmm.
There's one that I used to work for who's really great, but he doesn't like me because I don't work for him.
Oh, so he has a very competitive sense.
Yeah, he's a very competitive person. But
Okay.
actually, there's no reason to be in the PI business in Connecticut. There is no reason to be worried about competition,
Hmm.
because the work, there's a ton of. If anybody is interested in getting into the PI business and you got half a brain, it's a good thing to get into. There's plenty of work out there, and there's no reason to worry about competing with other PIs for cases. I mean, they're everywhere.
All right.
So,
Which then now I'm digressing, really digressing. How do your talents figure into helping out John Flynn?
well, they can preserve, if they can gather and preserve evidence for start with. If there's evidence to
Hmm.
what I've been telling people, that I'm interested in getting John Flynn out of there, but I'm even more interested in knowing what John Flynn knows.
Okay.
What
Well,
exactly is it that got him thrown in there? We kind of have an idea. We know what
yeah.
they're saying, but what is it? They're afraid of John Flynn. Really want to know why.
Well, I am told that a lot of those YouTube videos that he did are still up. I would I would offer the following. There was a situation involving a person whose house was stolen from him over some mortgage fraud in Norwalk. And as a result of this, John put out a list of maybe 20 or 30 of the judges in Connecticut who he believed to be extremely corrupt and were involved in this fraud somehow.
Oh, now we see. Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay, this would be the kind of thing that might, press a few buttons.
Yes.
Right. So there's that. But then there was this other story where he supposedly went into the Secretary of State's office and started threatening people. I know nothing about that. It's just something somebody said. I have no idea if it's true or not. But
Probably my guess is, I'm guessing, but he probably went in there upset, ranting and raving. But did he threaten anybody? Probably not.
okay. But so you take so there's that, and there are other things. I think he's been involved in 5G. Um, and he had built out something of an audience and a following. So I guess he had reached a certain threshold that was enough to get people in the state to say, we're going to have to do something about this person.
I think the key to getting him out is not investigating. It's more public pressure. I think it's
Well, yes,
why.
I agree on that, but there are things that lead up to this. Part of an investigation into John Flynn is going to be what he's investigated.
Right.
And
His YouTube channel is still up.
mhm.
Assuming, I mean, we can't guarantee that YouTube didn't take down X, Y, or Z, but his
there
channel
were
is there
there were some,
and you can look
but
it up.
yeah. So um, let's see. Yeah, all right. So we'll come back around to that. This leads us back to the caravan again. So what do we see as the next step here for getting this thing going? Because I have a list of people I can contact. We could try and set a tentative date or something.
Yeah, that's
Go
what we
back
got
and
to.
talk to Dawn about that lawyer.
Well, why don't we talk about that after the podcast is finished?
Okay,
Are we
sure.
there? Have
I
we?
think we're there.
Okay.
Yeah, it was at 11 o'clock. Yeah, it's Betty Bye.
Almost Betty Bye.
Somebody's got to get up early, and it ain't
That's
me.
correct.
I'll be
Yeah,
leaving for Vermont on Saturday morning for the week, so I'll be gone next week.
All right. No Jason next
No,
week.
Jason, I'm going dark for a week. I'm going into the
Guys, it's
school
stuck with me.
okay. So where are you going into Vermont?
up at a place called Harvey's Lake, in Barnet,
Is that,
way up there,
oh, it's
up by
way up.
St. Johnsbury area.
Oh, well, that's not at the very top, right?
No, but it's up there. It's about 3 hours from here. So,
Yeah, okay.
and it's just a cool little deep lake, clean little lake that I've been going to my whole life. It's a family place.
Hmm.
I spend a week there every year, and I make a point not to bring any internet or
Electronics.
electronics, anything. It's just
You
me and
really-
water and
Yeah.
the water and me.
Hey, what about the cat?
Cats stay home.
Cats stay home.
Cats stay home. They do
And-
well.
Your son there who was flitting back and forth?
My son usually comes with me.
Yeah.
This year he's got him and his buddies going. They go to New York every year, up to the Adirondacks every year. But the week's the same, so we're gonna be.
Where do they go in the Adirondacks?
I don't know, somewhere near Lake George, somewhere north of Lake George, I guess. I'm not sure exactly.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
they do their thing, and it's gonna be great. Last year I had 2 weeks up there, so that was really great. This year we're down to one.
Mhm.
Last time, next year we're doing two again.
All right.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's this very interesting, deep discussion we're having here, and I guess it really comes down to what are the fundamental baseline spinal column things that are needed to help create the groundswell necessary to basically flip this Connecticut state red, which is what we started off with Thanksgiving night to begin with here, and we've come quite far. Good management, good leadership is imperative. So I think there's a lot of people out there that have these skills and maybe not even know they have them sometimes. So I myself used to think, oh, I could talk to people, I could get involved. This was 10, 15 years before I actually did. So I think people need to, dig deep, search your soul, and talk to us, call us and see, we're looking for candidates to run for offices and things like that. And you're probably capable of a lot more than you think. So certainly discussion is worth having.
So the analogy in my mind would be who's the general manager for the Yankees? Is that Brian Cashman?
Cashman, yes, it's Brian Cashman.
Yes, he's the guy in charge of picking out talent, right?
Yeah, in theory.
In theory, yes. Well, we seem to have appointed ourselves the same kind of job as Brian Cashman.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Only I'm a Red Sox fan, but we'll go with it.
Oh, well, I am too. I don't know who the
Thank
general
goodness for
manager is.
Scott Breslow would be the
Scott
Red
Breslow,
Sox equivalent
okay.
of Brian Cashman.
All right. So, but you get the idea. And
Yeah, that's what we need. We need talent. We need good people, good talented people in here. So
yeah. Well, I mean, in recruiting talent, then it's called what are we asking them to do? If we could say rebuild the party, but
maybe some more detail. So we'll work that out.
yes, fine.
and we are working that out.
Yeah.
I think we kind of know what to do. It's a matter of getting the right bodies in there to do these things. Enough people. Like we can't do it all ourselves. So
I always like to see a timeline. I like to see goals and objectives. I like to have a way of measuring how we're doing.
well, once I get back from Vermont, we're going to have those profiles I was talking about up and running. I'm going to impress you, Court, with those.
Okay.
That's going to get you optimistic because it's going to be the spinal column for this whole movement.
You say, but I mean, I'm the first to recognize how critically important data is.
We need the people we need the people and then the data to track it. And then those two things together.
There are these intangibles that we have to be able to address.
Absolutely.
I just, because I've seen too many occasions where people have tried and failed, too many. And I am the first to admit I've been a part of those failures. And I have to believe that there is a formula, a place, an event, a situation, an environment that's going to produce success.
We're in it. You're going to see it now over this next 15 months.
Oh, I like the way you're rubbing your hands together.
It's going to happen. I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Wait till you see the profiles. You're going to love
Greedy much? Yeah. Okay.
it. No, this is your hands of victory, not
I
greed.
see. I see. Okay.
I'm wringing my hands
I gotcha.
of Republican success.
All right.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to say goodnight.
All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
night.
God bless
Good night.
Connecticut. God bless America.
You got it.
I,
All right. Okay.